Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome again to Level 10. Had a few shameless plugs planned for the night, but since you've been here waiting so patiently to meet the speaker and his wife and to listen to what they have to say, just wanted to say that Newt and Callista, it is absolutely great to have you here today. With us, with our employees, friends and family from around the Cedar Rapids area, and welcome to our small business, where this is where things happen, and lots and hundreds of thousands of small businesses around the country. So it is an absolute pleasure to have you here today to meet with all of us and talk about how this country may be led differently. So without further ado, since I know you don't need to listen to me any longer, I am very pleased and honored to introduce to all of you the former Speaker of the House and candidate for President of the United States, Mr. Newt Gingrich. And his lovely wife, Callista.
Thank you, Chris, and thank you all very, very much for coming out. And I want to thank Level 10 for hosting us tonight. Callista, I wanted to come first of all to say Merry Christmas to all of you. And as we enter that season this week, we're really grateful to have a chance to be with you. I was struck on the way in. I was chatting with some young people. And if you want to know why this campaign is different from all the normal campaigns you're watching with all their negative ads, it was captured by a young man over here who's 7 years old, whose name is Ty. And as I was walking in, I shook his hand and looked up at me and he said, with all seriousness, what's your favorite app for the iPad? Now, I just want you to think about it. We live in a world where 7-year-olds are smarter than most of the consultants for our politicians. Because he's positive. You know, he's living a life where he wants things to work. And I just want to start with that, because if there's anything I have found saddening, but not shocking, but saddening, about this campaign, it has been the weight of totally negative campaign by people who apparently have nothing positive to offer. And my only request to the people of Iowa is when you get ready to vote in 2 weeks, ask yourself, do you really want to reward politics as usual, negativity as usual, attack as usual, consultant as usual, fundraising from Wall Street millionaires as usual? Or do you want to vote for the only person who has consistently, steadily been positive for the entire campaign? And the commitment that Callista and I are making to Ty and every other young person that's here tonight is we're in this race because we think their future is in trouble. And we think they deserve an adult who knows what he's doing, who's prepared to tell the truth, who's willing to work hard, who has the courage to stand up to the Washington establishment, whether it's the Republican establishment or the Democratic establishment, because business as usual and politics as usual are going to cripple this country and limit the future of these children. Now that's what this campaign's all about. Candidly, the next time you see one of the candidates who's running the negative ads, ask him to take it off the air.
Roger that.
Just say to him, it demeans America, and the other person that helps in the long run is Barack Obama. That's why Ronald Reagan believed in the 11th commandment: don't attack other Republicans. He didn't want to help re-elect Jimmy Carter, and here I am a generation later. I don't want to help re-elect Barack Obama. So, and all of you who watch the debates know that I stick to this. Every once in a while I slip when they get my goat and I can't quite help myself. But I think overall I've done a pretty good job of staying focused on issues. So, I'm just going to say 3 quick things I hope you'll tell all your friends and neighbors that are the heart of this campaign, and then we'll take questions for a little while. And I do really appreciate coming out tonight. 1, the number one difference this campaign and the others is we have solutions big enough to really change Washington. Some of them are controversial. But the fact is they're the right size. If you go to newt.org and you look at the 21st Century Contract with America, you'll see the beginning of a serious effort to put this country back on the right track. And that's very important, because there's no point in electing somebody who's just going to go there to manage the system the way it is today. What we need to have is not just beat Obama, but have a positive plan with a positive agenda to sign up all the House and Senate candidates next year. So you have a single team running in the fall that actually is committed to real change, and that then actually enacts real change once it's elected. And so I think on that issue side alone, there's not much comparison between the number of things we've already listed, the depth of what we're doing. For example, on the issue of judges, this isn't just some passing slogan. We have a 54-page paper outlining the historical background to balancing the judiciary so judges don't believe they can be petty dictators telling the rest of us what to do. And it's a fundamental question about the future of America. And so these are issues I'm picking because they're strategic. If you look at our jobs and economic plan, it's very powerful. 0 capital gains, 12.5% corporate tax rate, 100% indexing, so every farmer, every factory, every business writes off everything that's new equipment in 1 year. Deliberately designed to make us the best trained, best equipped workforce in the world. Eliminate the death tax permanently so we quit punishing people who spend their whole lifetime working, and instead we encourage people to develop family businesses and develop a better future. Optional 15% flat tax, exactly on the Hong Kong model. So you can either keep the current code or you just write in one form and one page and pay 15%. And these are real changes. Repeal Dodd-Frank, repeal Obamacare, repeal Sarbanes-Oxley. Replace the Environmental Protection Agency with a brand new Environmental Solutions Agency, whose first requirement, if you start hiring people, is common sense. No common sense, you don't get hired. It'd be a radical change from EPA. So I'm just giving you a flavor. So first, I think on the substance level, I'm very happy to debate any of my competitors, and I'm very happy to lay out positive ideas, because we've been working on them for years, and we have a pretty good idea what we need to do. Second, as a practical matter, I am the only candidate in this race who has helped create a national majority twice, with Ronald Reagan in 1980 and in 1994 with the Contract with America. And then a candidate in this race who has had a major entitlement reform, welfare. 2 out of 3 people went to work or went to school. Most successful entitlement reform of your lifetime. I'm the only candidate in this race who passed the first tax cut in 16 years, the largest capital gains tax cut in American history. The result, unemployment dropped to 4.2%. Think how we'd feel today at 4.2% unemployment. But it's deeper than that. I twice participated in creating jobs. The first one was with Jack Kemp and Art Laffer and others developing supply-side economics, campaigning with Ronald Reagan, passing the tax cuts of 1981. We went from 10.8% unemployment down to under 6% unemployment. In 1 month, we created 1,300,000 new jobs in September of 1983. So we know we can do it. And in the 4 years I was Speaker, we created 11 million new jobs, which was the key to the last big achievement, which is 4 consecutive years of a balanced budget. No other candidate running this year can claim to have done anything on this scale. 4 consecutive balanced budgets, $405 billion in debt paid off. And we did it because when you take people off of food stamps, off of unemployment, off of Medicaid, off of public housing, and you put them in a job where they're taking care of their family, you lower government spending and you increase government revenues. I'm for higher revenues, I'm just against higher taxes. I want higher revenues by being smart, not by being greedy. Now, lastly, if you ask yourself, when we get to the election next year, and all the negativity you're seeing right now is tiny compared to what's coming from Barack Obama. I mean, they're not raising $1 billion to run a campaign that says, re-elect me because I've been successful. Remember, they're going from yes we can to here's why we couldn't as their slogan. And we're going to run a campaign that offers a choice between the best food stamp president in American history, Barack Obama, and somebody who wants to be the best paycheck president in American history. So they're not going to want a fair fight. And so how do you cut through $1 billion? You cut through it by challenging the president to 7 3-hour debates with a timekeeper and no moderator. To be fair, you allow him to use a teleprompter. No, I mean, after all, if you had to defend Obamacare, wouldn't you want to use a teleprompter?
Yes, I would.
And all I ask you to ask your friends is, when you think about the candidates you've seen this year, forgetting all the negative ads and all that stuff, you think about the actual candidates, which one would you like to have standing on the same platform with Barack Obama? And I think when you ask that question, and I need your help the night of the caucus, because I'll bet you at least a third of the caucus goers will walk in undecided. And all I want them to think about before they vote that night is, who do you think can stand up to Obama, make the case for American exceptionalism, make the case for the Declaration of Independence, explain what it means to be endowed by our Creator with certain inalienable rights, explain free enterprise, explain the work ethic, and explain national security. And so I think big solutions, track record of getting them done, ability to win the election. Those, I think, are the 3 keys. But in the end, I'm going to need your help. The objective truth is that several of my competitors have vastly more money than I do. Some of them have been running for years. And so we're still putting our campaign together. It's wild. It's amazing. But even to today on the CNN poll, I'm tied as the front runner nationally. In the last 2 Gallup polls, I'm ahead. So we actually have a campaign which is trying to catch up with popular support. It's very exciting, but it's listening to guys a little bit tiring. So I need your help at the caucus, getting people to the caucus, talking at the caucus. Any of you who will help, if you go to newt.org and sign up, we really, really would be grateful, and we really need your help. Let me, and I should say, because she's Chris's sister and she's one of the 2 key people in the whole campaign. Where's Katie at? She's back here somewhere. Katie, wave your hand. So later on, any of you who'd like to sign up tonight, if you go see Katie, she'll be thrilled to see you. And she's doing a great job, and we're just thrilled to have her help. Well, let me, for a few minutes, if I can, Chris, I'm going to toss it open for questions from any of you. Yes, sir.
The big story, I guess, of the weekend would be the death of Kim Jong-il. What do you think are the national security ramifications for us?
That's a good question. The question was about the death of Kim Jong-il, and let me say two things. First of all, in the short run, we know so little about how North Korea works. The truth is, we don't know, A, if his son will be able to follow him, and B, we don't know whether that's good or bad. Okay? I think our bias should be to hope that he's younger, more modern, and it might work out. But if you look at Assad in Syria, the son wasn't a whole lot better than the father, so it doesn't always work that way. But I think that's a starting point. But the other thing it reminds us of when you think about the caucus is everybody should think deeply before they vote about national security. I mean, this is not a game. When you have countries like North Korea and Iran trying to get nuclear weapons and trying to get missiles, when you have the danger that they will give them or sell them to terrorists, you need somebody in office. I spent 23 years teaching 1- and 2-star generals, and I've had, nobody else in this race has the kind of national security background I have. And I can just tell you, it is very dangerous. Who would suggest isolationism, or they would suggest hiding, or they would suggest, oh, it's not a big deal if Iran gets nuclear weapons, it's not a big deal if North Korea gets nuclear weapons. You know, we saw what happened on 9/11. Well, imagine that had been with a nuclear weapon. That's not a risk I'm willing to take, and I'll guarantee you, as the son of a 27-year career infantryman in the U.S. Army, my bias is in favor of defending and protecting America, and that's, I think, a very important consideration.